Well, let me thank all of you for coming out on a Saturday morning. What I want to do is just chat for a little while, tell you a little bit about myself and some of the ideas that we're fighting for. I was born in New York City. My dad was a paint salesman. Grew up in a 3.5-room apartment. Moved to Vermont in 1964. Ran for the United States Senate on a third party back in 1971, and I got 2% of the vote. Not dissuaded, I ran again, and I got 1% of the vote. Too dumb to quit, I ran again, and got eventually 6% of the vote. And then I stopped running. I gave the people of Vermont a break after one guy said to me, "If you promise never to run again, I will vote for you." But I didn't keep that promise. I am in Iowa because I am giving thought to running for President of the United States. What I am hearing is a lot of support for the agenda that I am proposing, which is an agenda to create millions of decent paying jobs, to raise the minimum wage, to do pay equity, to reform our disastrous trade policies, to deal with asking the wealthy and powerful to start paying their fair share of taxes, to deal with the national health care program. The question is whether or not there is the willingness on the part of ordinary people to, in fact, get engaged, to stand up and to fight back. Every worker in this room is producing more than he or she did 20, 30 years ago. Are our wages going up or our hours going down? Quite the contrary, right? People working longer hours in many cases for lower wages. While the middle class is crumbling, the wealthiest people and the largest corporations are doing phenomenally well. Today, the top 0.1% owns more wealth than the bottom 90%. The Walton family of Walmart owns more wealth than the bottom 40% of the American people. One family. I think we have a moral obligation to bring people together for the sake of our kids and our grandchildren and the climate and the planet, to say, you know what, you can't keep doing what you're doing. You can't keep beating down the middle class. You can't keep buying elections. You can't keep sending out jobs to China. That's wrong. So the job is to mobilize. How effectively we can do that, that remains to be seen. Let me ask you this question. Do you think we would have a shot of winning or doing well in the Iowa caucus? Honest assessment. All right.
Our parents grew up during the Depression. We grew up in the 50s and 60s. And through the hard work of our parents and grandparents, we were able to have decent lives, got a decent education, and we thrived. You had a lot of politicians, including politicians in the Republican Party, who were liberals, frankly liberals, I mean, to the left of many Democrats today. So they cared about the poor, they cared about the working classes, they cared about the middle class. They thought that it was important for people to be able to go to college and not come out with staggering levels of debt. And I think more than anything, they understood that it was absolutely essential for people to have work, and not just work, but work at good wages. Certainly when Reagan was elected in 1980, all bets were off. This fantasy was perpetrated that the best way to help ordinary people and poor people was to turn all of our resources towards the very wealthy and help them. And they would do better and better, and then some of their wealth would trickle down to the masses. Well, of course, that was nonsense, but it was a kind of nonsense that gripped this society. And the working classes and the poor have been worse off ever since.
5, 6, 7, 8.
I see a lot of ferment across the land in the United States right now. People are not happy. People understand that things are not going well. You have the Black Lives Matter movement. You have the movement of low-wage workers. They've been protesting and calling periodic strikes. I'd like to see leadership emerge that could begin to knit some of these movements together so that they form alliances.